Everyone wants success, but no one wants to admit the truth. Your biggest enemy isn't out there, it's in here. Your mind, your mouth, and your money are either building your empire or burning it down. And if you can't control those three, you don't stand a chance in this world. If you don't own your mind, someone else does. That's the raw truth. The mind is your battlefield, your engine, your command center. And if you leave it open, unguarded, undisciplined, the world will shape it for you. Media, friends, failures, addictions, comfort, all of it. You wake up every day with two choices: either dominate your thoughts or be dominated by them. People walking around miserable, lost, broke. It starts here in their mind. Weak thoughts lead to weak actions, and weak actions lead to a weak life. That's why controlling your mind isn't optional. It's essential. It's step one to mastering everything else. The world doesn't care about your emotions. Life doesn't stop for your bad day. Success doesn't care if you feel tired or unmotivated. So when your mind starts feeding you excuses, I'll do it later, I'm not ready, it's too hard, you either kill those thoughts or they kill your potential. That's the daily war. Every morning, every minute, your brain will try to protect you by keeping you soft, keeping you safe, keeping you average. But greatness doesn't live in comfort, it lives in discipline, in telling your mind what to do, not the other way around. If your mind says stay in bed, you get up. If it says skip the gym, you train harder. If it says don't try, you go full throttle. That's mental dominance. People think confidence comes from looks or money or attention. No, real confidence comes from mastery over your own head. When you know you can control your reactions, control your drive, control your focus, you walk into every room different. You don't get thrown off by nonsense. You don't let little problems ruin your mood. You don't let other people's energy pull you down. You're locked in, tuned in, laser focused. Because your mind isn't running wild, you've put it on a leash and taught it to obey. That's power. That's what separates winners from whiners. The world is full of people who had talent, but their mind was their downfall. They couldn't handle rejection, couldn't stay consistent, couldn't stop doubting themselves. So they crashed. It always starts in the head. You've got to reprogram everything. Every limiting belief, every soft excuse, every old trauma that tells you you're not good enough, rip it out, destroy it, and replace it with iron. You train your body in the gym. Why not train your mind the same way? Feed it with discipline, books, silence, challenges, and isolation if needed. Strengthen it until nothing phases you, until you don't get shaken by setbacks, until you've conditioned your mind to stay solid when the pressure hits. Most people fold because their mind is too fragile. One loss and they spiral. One comment and they fall apart. That's weak, and weak doesn't survive. But when you've got control over that voice in your head, when you can make it work for you instead of against you, now you're dangerous. And let's be clear, controlling your mind doesn't mean suppressing emotions or acting like a robot. It means knowing how to channel your emotions into fuel, not excuses. You feel anger? Use it to push harder. You feel pain? Use it to grow. You feel fear? Let it sharpen your instincts, not stop you. Everything that happens to you is neutral. Your mind decides if it's a reason to break or a reason to build. That's the secret. That's the edge. That's what the world's strongest men have mastered. Not just money, not just power, but control over the only thing that truly runs their life, their mind. Because once you control that, nothing else can control you. Your mouth is either your asset or your liability. There's no in between. The words you speak shape how people see you, how much they respect you, and how much power you carry in a room. But most people talk too much, too soon, and with no precision. They give away their strategies, expose their weaknesses, or try to prove a point to people who aren't even listening. That's how you lose power, through noise. A man who doesn't control his mouth is a man who has no grip on himself. Your words should be calculated, sharp, and rare, not scattered like coins tossed to beggars. You speak when it adds value, not just to fill silence or win attention. The loudest man in the room is rarely the strongest. Real power moves in silence. Real power doesn't need to announce itself, it's felt. When you walk into a room, when your energy speaks before your mouth does, that's presence. That's control. But if you're constantly explaining yourself, defending your name, or trying to sound smart, you've already lost. People can feel desperation in your words. They can sense insecurity in how you speak. They can tell when your mouth is running faster than your brain. That's when they start disrespecting you, dismissing you, or using your words against you. So you've got to tighten it up. Control your mouth like it's a loaded weapon, because it is. Your silence should be louder than your opinion. When you know your value, you don't need to argue it. You don't need to clap back at every insult or react to every provocation. That's emotional weakness disguised as pride. The man who reacts to everything reveals how easily he can be controlled. But the one who stays composed, who responds with precision or doesn't respond at all, that man becomes untouchable. He doesn't waste energy debating people below his level. He's not out to prove his worth to strangers. His silence becomes intimidating, not passive. It commands attention without chasing it. People reveal everything through their words. They reveal their insecurities, their desperation, their lack of control. But when you control your mouth, you gain leverage. You gain advantage. You learn to listen more, study more, and strike with precision when needed. You're not just running your mouth. You're playing chess with your words. Every sentence has purpose. Every answer is deliberate. Every silence is intentional. That's how killers move. That's how high-level minds operate. They understand that most people talk themselves out of respect, out of deals, out of relationships, out of power. And in the digital age, your words don't disappear. One screenshot, one recording, one post taken the wrong way, and you're finished. People think they can say whatever they want and clean it up later. No, your words are receipts. Your words are evidence, so you better make sure they're sharp, clean, and disciplined. If you wouldn't stand by it in front of the world, don't say it at all. If it doesn't move you forward, don't let it leave your mouth. Talking just to talk is cheap. Precision is priceless. People who run their mouths always end up exposed. They leak information, they create drama, they build reputations they can't live up to, but the man who controls his words never overpromises, never gets dragged into nonsense, and never gives the enemy ammo. He speaks when it matters and remains quiet when it's smarter. That's power. That's control. That's how real players operate. So train your mouth like you train your body, with discipline, strategy, and purpose. Because one undisciplined sentence can cost you what took years to build, and one moment of silence can win you the respect that 1,000 words never could. Money doesn't change who you are. It reveals who's really in control. You either run your money or it runs you. And most people are broke not because of how much they make, but because of how little control they have. They get paid, and the first thing they do is look for a way to spend it. That's not wealth. That's weakness disguised as reward. Real financial control isn't about having $1 million. It's about thinking like someone who's already worth 10 times that. It's about discipline, restraint, strategy. It's about knowing when to spend, when to save, and when to invest. Not based on emotion, but logic. The broke mindset sees money as a tool for pleasure. The rich mindset sees it as a weapon for freedom. When you control your money, you control your choices. You don't wake up every day depending on a boss, begging for a raise, or hoping someone bails you out. You move on your terms because your financial base is strong. But that strength comes from years of discipline, not spending to impress people who don't care, not buying liabilities to look successful while staying broke behind the scenes. It's built through sacrifice, saying no when everyone else says yes, walking away from instant gratification because long-term power matters more. People don't go broke from one bad decision. They go broke from thousands of small ones they never think about. The daily coffees, the constant eating out, the endless subscriptions, the impulsive shopping. It adds up. You've got to be surgical with your finances. Every dollar you spend needs a reason. Every purchase must pass the test. Does it move me closer to freedom, or does it feed my comfort zone? That level of awareness is rare, but it's required if you want to dominate life instead of just survive it. And let's talk about investing. Everyone wants to invest, but most can't even control their spending. Don't talk about stocks or crypto or real estate if you haven't mastered budgeting your paycheck. Don't think investing is some magical shortcut to wealth. It's a reward for discipline. You don't need a fancy financial advisor or a business degree. You need control. You need to delay gratification long enough to stack cash, research smart, and move when the time is right. That's how real wealth starts. Not through luck, through control. When you're in control of your money, you also become harder to manipulate. People can't bait you with shiny objects. You don't fall into traps like get-rich-quick schemes or high-interest loans or emotional purchases. You're a sniper, not a spray-and-pray spender. You move with precision. And that scares people, because most are addicted to their impulses. That when you live below your means, build assets instead of flexing liabilities, and multiply every dollar like it's a soldier, you separate yourself. You rise above the noise. You stop being a slave to the system and start becoming a master of your domain. Control over money is control over your future. You don't need to check your account before buying groceries. You don't need to panic when rent is due. You sleep well because you know you're not living paycheck to paycheck. That peace, it's not bought, it's earned. Earned by every decision you made when no one was watching. Earned by every temptation you turned down. Earned by every moment you chose discipline over dopamine. You want real success? Start with your wallet. Because if your money is chaotic, your life will be too. Control your cash flow and you'll control your options. And when you control your options, you control everything. Focus is a weapon. Most people never succeed because they don't know how to lock in. Their attention is scattered, hijacked by notifications, distractions, gossip, comfort, and fear. They start 10 things and finish none. They have goals but no systems. They have energy but no direction. That's the problem. They're leaking power. You don't get rich, respected, or unstoppable by doing a little bit of everything. You get there by becoming lethal at one thing. Focus creates momentum. Focus eliminates the noise. When you train your mind to aim at a target and refuse to look away, you become dangerous. You start achieving what others only dream about because you're not deluded. Everyone wants success, but very few are willing to give up distractions. They want to win, but keep scrolling, keep partying, keep chasing quick dopamine hits. They think they can multitask their way to greatness. That's a lie. High-level success doesn't tolerate divided attention. If your mind is being pulled in 5 directions, you're going nowhere. You need tunnel vision. You need to look at your goals like a predator tracks prey. Locked in, unshaken, undistracted. Every minute you waste on pointless stuff is a minute stolen from your future. If you can't control your focus, you can't control your life. That's the cold truth. Most people never sit in silence. They're afraid of being alone with their own thoughts. That's why they always need music, noise, stimulation. But power is built in silence. Focus is forged in solitude. When you cut off the distractions and sit with your goals, with your fears, with your plans, something shifts. You start seeing clearly. You start hearing the internal voice that's been drowned out by the chaos. That's the voice that tells you what you really need to do. That's the one you should be listening to. Not the noise of the crowd, not the trends on social media, not the opinions of the average. You've got to build a fortress around your attention. Guard it like your life depends on it. Because it does. Focus also means choosing your battles. You don't have to engage every hater. You don't need to prove yourself to everybody. You don't need to fight wars that don't move you forward. People try to bait you, provoke you, drag you into drama because if they can break your focus, they can break your momentum. And when they break your momentum, they win without ever beating you head on. Stay locked in. Let them talk. Let them watch. Your results will do the talking for you. Your growth will shut their mouths. That's real power, when you're too focused to react. People think focus means saying yes to the right things, but it's more about saying no to the wrong things. No to distractions. No to emotional reactions. No to shortcuts. No to comfort. Focus is saying, I don't care how fun or easy that looks. If it doesn't take me closer to my mission, I'm out. That mindset builds discipline, it builds consistency, it builds success. Every hour spent focused compounds. Every day you stay on track, you pull further ahead of the average. And one day you wake up so far ahead that catching you isn't even possible anymore. It's not about working more, it's about working sharper. It's about locking in so hard that even 10 minutes of your attention is more effective than someone else's entire day. That's the level you need to reach. Because once you own your focus, you own your time, you own your energy, you own your outcomes. And when you own those, you own your life. Discipline is the bridge between your potential and your results. Without it, talent is wasted, intelligence is scattered, and ambition stays as fantasy. Everyone says they want success. Everyone says they want the life, the freedom, the respect. But few are willing to do what it takes when nobody's watching. Discipline isn't about motivation. Motivation is for amateurs. Discipline is for killers. Motivation fades when you're tired, when it's raining, when it's uncomfortable. Discipline stays locked in when everything around you screams for you to quit. That's what separates those who win from those who wish. The reason most people fail isn't because they're incapable, it's because they're soft. They fold when it gets hard. They negotiate with themselves. They skip the workout. They sleep in. They delay the task. They lie to themselves. Every small excuse is a vote against your future. Every compromise is a brick in the wall that separates you from who you're meant to be. Discipline is the antidote to that. Discipline is waking up early when you don't feel like it. Discipline is showing up when no one claps for you. Discipline is doing the boring stuff, the hard stuff, the necessary stuff. Consistently, not occasionally. Discipline also teaches you self-respect. You can't feel powerful if you're constantly breaking promises to yourself. Every time you say you're going to do something and don't do it, you're killing your confidence. You're training your brain that your words mean nothing. But when you act with discipline, when you keep your word, when you follow through, your brain starts trusting you. You walk different, you carry yourself different. That's internal power. That's real confidence. Built from discipline, not empty affirmations. Most people are slaves to their feelings. They only move when they feel like it. That's why they never rise. Discipline makes you a master of your emotions. You don't wait for a good mood. You create momentum. You train when you're tired. You grind when it's uncomfortable. You execute even when the fire is gone, because you understand that feelings are liars. Discipline is truth. Feelings want comfort. Discipline wants growth. And every time you choose growth over comfort, you stack power. You stack respect. You separate. Discipline is also about consistency over intensity. Anyone can have a good day. Anyone can grind for a week. But can you show up for 6 months, a year, 5 years? That's where the winners are born. In the repetition, in the routine, in the days where nothing exciting happens, but you keep going anyway. Discipline turns actions into habits, habits into identity, and identity into destiny. If you want to change your life, change your discipline first. Everything else will follow. The world doesn't reward intentions. It rewards execution. Your dreams don't matter if they're not backed by discipline. Your goals don't matter if you don't show up daily. No one cares how hard your life is. The world cares if you deliver. And to deliver, you need discipline. It's the most important muscle you'll ever build. Without it, you're a prisoner to your excuses. With it, you're unstoppable. You want freedom? Build discipline. You want respect? Build discipline. You want power? Build discipline. It's the foundation under every real success story. It's not sexy. It's not easy. But it's effective. Because the man who moves with discipline moves with purpose. He doesn't wait. He acts. He doesn't beg. He earns. He doesn't fear obstacles. He breaks through them. And while others fade, he rises relentlessly, consistently, unapologetically. Silence is one of the most powerful moves in a world addicted to noise. Weak people feel the need to talk all the time. They explain, defend, justify, seek approval. They want to be heard. They want validation. They want to fill the space because they fear being overlooked. But the real ones, the killers, they move in silence. They don't need to announce their every move. They don't need to explain what they're working on. They don't care if the crowd claps. They let results speak. Silence is a strategy, not a weakness. It's the move of a person who's so locked into the mission that talking becomes a distraction. Most people give away their power the second they open their mouth. They tell people their plans, their goals, their dreams. And guess what? Now everyone has an opinion. Everyone has a critique. Everyone gets a shot at your confidence. Talking too much dilutes your vision. It opens you up to doubt, discouragement, distraction. Silence protects your focus. Silence keeps your power bottled up until it's ready to explode. That explosion, that's your success. That's when the world realizes you weren't sleeping. You were sharpening your blade in the dark. You don't need to announce progress. Let your transformation be unrecognizable. Let people think you disappeared while in reality you were in the trenches, building, grinding, evolving. Because when you stay silent, you keep your enemies confused. They don't know what you're doing, how far you've come, what you've figured out. That mystery makes you powerful. That unpredictability makes you dangerous. Silence gives you control over your narrative. Once you talk too much, you give that control away. You hand people the script, and now they're part of a story they didn't earn. Silence also forces you to listen, and listening is how you dominate rooms. The loudest one in the room is usually the weakest. He needs attention. He needs to be heard. He's insecure and his voice is covering up his fear. But the one who listens, he's gathering intel. He's reading people. He's assessing weakness. He's planning his next move with precision. That's chess, not checkers. While everyone else is busy talking, he's making calculated decisions that shift the game in his favor. And when he finally speaks, people listen, because silence gave his voice weight. In relationships, business, conflict, silence is leverage. You don't need to react emotionally to every insult. You don't need to defend yourself against every accusation. You don't need to clarify things to people who don't matter. Stay silent and let them choke on their own assumptions. Let them misjudge you. Let them sleep on you, because the moment you start performing for their validation, you lose yourself. Silence keeps you grounded. It makes you immune to the opinions of the irrelevant. Silence is where clarity lives. In silence, you reconnect with your vision. In silence, you eliminate the chaos and hear your instincts. You realize what matters and what's just noise. That's why the greats take time away. They disappear, they isolate, they distance themselves. Not because they're hiding, but because they're preparing. Growth doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens. The spotlight is the reward for what you built in the shadows. You want to level up? Talk less. Move smarter. Keep your energy protected. Let the loud ones burn out while you rise quietly. Let the noise bounce off while you stay grounded. Let the world wonder what you're up to. Because when your silence is paired with relentless execution, success becomes inevitable. And when you finally break that silence, it's not with words, it's with undeniable proof. Control your mind, your mouth, and your money, and you control your entire life. That's the formula. When your mind is sharp, focused, and disciplined, no setback can derail you. When your mouth speaks with purpose and you know when to stay silent, you protect your energy and guard your respect. When your money is managed with intelligence, aggression, and long-term vision, you buy freedom and multiply power. Most people are slaves to impulse, emotion, and distraction. But the ones who rise, the ones who dominate, those are the few who master themselves first. This isn't about acting tough. This is about being untouchable. You want real success? Then control the only three things that truly matter: your thoughts, your words, and your wealth. Everything else will fall in line.